I'm just going to stay off screen for a minute. Oh, God, nervous.
Nice.
Pardon?
Nice.
Got matching tops on it.
Hello, I got an email to say you're there, but I'm not ready. Need to go and get a drink. Won't be a minute.
Okay, Martin. I don't know about anybody else, but I've actually put my heating on. I am so cold. It's really cold.
Hello.
Are you back?
Strange voice in the distance.
Are you back? Oh, there we go. Hi. I was just saying I've put my heating on, Martin, so I'm so cold.
Well, I don't blame you. I had a little. My biggest fan was on my feet earlier, but it was a heater, so that's all.
I need to find my biggest fan. It's quite a small one actually, but it's a really good one.
I've been diving into the world of emotional intelligence this morning.
Oh,
And will be
okay. How's
again
that been
tomorrow
going?
morning. Yeah. It's good. It's some training I did 12 years ago, and they've updated the training and the slides and things as they should.
Mm-hmm.
And having been certified with them and done a bit of work with them, you get to recertify for free, which is
That's good.
bonus. Yeah. Actually, there's quite a few organizations do that. So the Gallup strengths coach, in order to continue, you don't have to be certified coach with them to use all the product, but you do have to be in order to display the certified strengths coach, and you've got to recertify every 2-3 years. I think they've pushed it to 3 years now. Used to be 2 years. So I kept that going. NLP, the NLP certifications, essentially you just buy those. I mean, you do a training course and get certified, and then you become a member of the club, and you keep your accreditation just by paying an annual fee, which I think is a bit of a rip-off. Because there's no, I like extra learning. You know, if I'm going to be recertified, what's new, what's come up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I was just seeing Ian's going to be late. It's fine. Yeah.
And I got him, you know, just to let you know your automation works. I'm on Zoom now. That was 15 minutes before the call.
I know.
But I'll let you know it works.
Well, after a day yesterday of everything tech and lots of things going wrong, so far so good today.
Yesterday I battled and taught myself a bit more about MailerLite and fixed something, but I've got my freebie in a Google Drive. I put the link into the MailerLite, and what I've done is I duplicated an old funnel that worked, and it's still got residual links.
That's a good idea. That's the way to do it.
But it's still got residual links in it from the other one that I can't get rid of.
Oh.
So instead of nicely going, thank you, it says, welcome to your report. What? That's not right.
Oh, okay. Oh, well. But it is a good way of doing it that way, replicating rather than starting fresh. Hi, Jean. How are you?
Hello.
Lovely to see you.
I'm very good. Lovely to see you too. Fantastic.
Excellent.
I hadn't realised we're getting a real whiz-bang session today, but that's all to the good.
Yes, absolutely. It's a full-on 60 minutes today, so lots to share with you. I'm just going to say hi to Rian. How are you doing, Rian? It's lovely to see you. Are you cold as well? Because you look a bit.
Yeah, cold, but also a bit of a cold as well. I've also got a bit of a thumping headache as well. So I think, you know, when you just the lurgy's just doing its rounds today.
There's a lot going around at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, it's great to see you.
Well, same, yeah, because it's been a while. How are you? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yes, all is well.
Good.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
hi, Ali.
Thank you for putting on today as well.
Sorry?
Thank you for putting on today.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. It's a topic that I get a lot of interest in.
Yeah.
And I thought this time I would do a bit more in-depth around it because there's a lot of changes going on at the moment.
Yeah.
And I know it can feel quite overwhelming, you know, for small businesses. So that's my job. My job is to keep up to date with all these changes and then deliver what you guys need to know about. So so it should be a good session. I'm going to say hi to Ali. It's good to see you, Ali. Hope you're
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, you've got a different backdrop today.
I have, yes. I'm in the office today.
Oh, right, okay.
So I will keep myself on mute because there'll be phones going and lorries passing and all sorts of background noise.
No problem at all. All right. Well, it's good to have you here. And hi to Nicholas.
Hi.
Lovely to see you. Thank you for coming along. So I think there's going to be, what I'm going to do is, it's 12 o'clock, so I'm going to get cracking and then I'll just let other people in as we go. So welcome to everybody, and I wonder if this is familiar to some of you. You know, you're a service provider, coach or consultant, you've got a website, but your clients aren't finding you, and that's quite frustrating. So today I'm hoping to help move the needle a little bit and share some insights around visibility and ranking and helping your website be more visible, because what's the point of having one if it isn't actually doing what it's supposed to do? So what I'd love for you to do in the short term is maybe in the chat, and I can look at this a bit later, just maybe share what brought you here today, and perhaps what your main website challenge is, and then I'll come back and look at those comments a bit later. Okay, so first of all, who am I? If you don't know me, and hopefully there's going to be quite a lot of people watching this on replay, just briefly, I am Natalie from Engaging Content. I always say that your website is a tool and your content is the fuel, because ultimately it's a dynamic piece of kit. It's not a one and done asset, but if you get all of the bits and pieces right, then it really can work hard for you. And I'm 20 years in digital marketing, so I'm very qualified to talk about this, about websites, SEO, blogging, content marketing, because I've been doing it for such a long time. And when I say doing it, I was actually running more of an agency style business, and that really helped to give me a very vast skill set around design and strategy and the SEO side of it, because they're not just these little separate pieces don't just sit there on their own in isolation. They need to work in harmony together. And so because of my background of doing a lot of the doing and working with SEO people to do that for my clients, it means I have quite a holistic approach to what I do, which is a good thing, because often, you know, web designer is a web designer, and then somebody who's doing strategy is over there, and actually it's having that overall overview of what's going on a website for it to really work well. Now, I'm on a bit of a mission really, because ultimately there's a lot of businesses setting up post-pandemic, and there's lots of opportunities, which is wonderful. But more and more and more, I see businesses making decisions and spending money and going down rabbit holes that maybe aren't quite right for them. And so then it takes longer to get on that track of where they need to be. And so life got in the way for me a bit, one way and another. And now, you know, I've got a daughter who is a teenager, and I've got an elderly mum who is, you know, she's got some sort of health challenges. And so I needed to get more time back personally so that I could live my life, but also cope with some of these challenges. And so that's why now I spend my time doing more training, more empowering businesses to learn the ropes and do more of the doing for themselves. Because if you're at the stage of your business where you haven't got the money to go and spend on an agency to sort it all out for you, but equally you haven't got the skill set, then my job, my mission, and what I'm really passionate about doing is helping you do more of it for yourself. And so that's sort of where I'm at with all of it. The other thing to mention is that we sort of, when we're in business, we have this expectation that we should be able to do all this stuff for ourselves. And yet you set up in business to do what lights you up, and to deliver your service. And so, you know, if you were going to work in a company, you wouldn't just be left to your own devices. You'd get training, you'd get support, you'd get direction. And so I think we're just very hard on ourselves that we think we should know how to do all of this. But actually the reality is it can be quite lonely in business. It can be a hard slog, and it can be very disheartening at times. And so, you know, really that's where I want to be filling this gap, being able to support and empower businesses like yours. So let's have a look at what we're going to cover today. Google's latest core update. I'm going to explain what updates are and what a core update means. And then we're going to look at how this might affect your website. And we do a little test to check on your website's visibility. And then I'm going to look at what the gaps are in regard to being visible online. And that's where I'll talk a bit more about ranking, what that means, crawling, what that means, and indexing. And we'll look at some of the tools that you might need to grasp all of those terms. And then we're gonna talk about keywords and also what's changing at the moment with this digital landscape. A lot of it changes afoot because of AI. And so I'm going to share, what some of these changes are, what they're going to mean for your website, and what you need to be focusing on, what you don't need to worry about. Because again, there's a lot of change and I think people are getting quite confused. So I want to hopefully simplify that for you. And then we'll talk about tools, we'll look at how visible your site is, and then I'm going to share my method of how I help businesses like yours to get more visibility. And I'm going to introduce my new way of supporting businesses with Simply Visible Academy. So I'll talk about that a bit more later. Okay, so the latest core update. So we know that Google is an algorithm, and this is a complex formula, I'm reading this, that determines which websites deserve to be at the top of the search results. But the thing is, it's not just about stuffing keywords here and there and hoping for the best. There's more to it, because we need to be delivering value and answering questions. And so when people try to cheat the system with Google, and they try to do black hat is the term, techniques, actually Google just doesn't want to play. So it's all about, understanding as much as we can about the algorithm, but bearing in mind that not everybody knows how it all fits together, because Google is quite secretive. So even I'm led to believe people that work at Google don't even know how some of it all fits together themselves. So we haven't got hope in hell. Well, that gives me a bit of reassurance and comfort. But if they don't know, we're never going to fully know. But ultimately it comes down to the human side of being in business and of providing content and support. And it's about delivering value and it's about answering questions. Now, the core update, when Google does these updates, it usually will do a sort of smaller update and target specific things to tighten. A core update, on the other hand, is when it's targeting multiple things in one go. And what that does is it really upsets the apple cart, because it's really trying to get through the wheat and the chaff of the good stuff and the bad stuff. So what often happens is, if you do have an understanding of your website traffic and if you are ranking, what often happens is that there's quite a lot of changes, quite a lot of peaks and troughs. So things that might have been working quite well all of a sudden might not be. And that's basically because the crawlers, the robots, which we can talk about in a minute, they're looking at content and they're grading it. And if they're seeing things that they don't like, it's going to sort of affect your website. And so that's when, doing a bit of an audit or looking at your content in a bit more of a fresh way, or standing back and observing and seeing what might need to be done to adhere to these changes. But usually with these updates, things get worse before they get better. So you kind of need to let things settle. But the good news is that when you are creating the right content and you're adhering to what Google's looking for, but also putting your client, your audience at the heart of what you're doing, yes, things might move a little bit, but overall, you will find that you will start rising more to the top because you're doing it in that right sort of ethical way, as it were. So there's a message here from Google. The update is designed to continue our work to improve the quality of our search results by showing more content that people find genuinely useful and less content that feels like it was made just to perform well on search. So that was, sort of does what it says on the tin, really. It's very much, Google is all about bringing back the best search result it can for what the user has put the query in for. And so that's what these updates are all about. So what you might then be wondering is, well, how does it affect my website? Because, it can do quite brutal things where you might have had pages that are indexed. Again, we'll talk about this in a bit. And then those pages aren't indexed anymore. So I guess that the first thing really is to, in order to know about how it affects your visibility, is to maybe just talk about visibility for a minute. What we're talking about here is the cornerstone of a successful website. And visibility is about being seen by the right people at the right time. And it's ensuring that your website is appearing in the right searches, because you want to be where your customers are looking. And that means understanding how the search engines operate. Now, if you imagine Google is a bustling marketplace, your website is a storefront or a shop within that marketplace, trying to vie for attention, trying to be visible and standing out from your competitors, then hopefully that gives you a little bit more of a visual as to what we're trying to achieve. And if it doesn't matter how good your services are or how lovely your shop front is, if it can't be found, it's like being hidden in a back alley, and it's just no one's going to ever come across you. So, making sure that your website is visible is really, really important. And there's quite a lot of aspects that need to work in harmony together. So earlier I talked about viewing your website as more of a dynamic tool rather than just a one and done tool. So that's not to say you wouldn't create some content that you don't need to change going forward, but you also do need to be creating content in the form of blogs and having fresh content on your website, because that signals to Google that your business is open and active and, accepting new clients. Whereas if your website is stagnant and it's old and there's no fresh content, then it's not giving that good signal. And it would be a bit like walking past a shop where the shop window is looking very tired and it's looking like it was last season, and it's looking like there's no lights on and no one's at home. So it's really important to, if you want to create this asset that is going to work hard for you, then it's important to think in those terms of something that's very alive and dynamic. And I always say that your website is a visual representation of you online, and so therefore it needs to be up to date. It needs to be active and moving, and it means that it's doing the hard work while you're asleep, or you're serving your clients, or you're enjoying your life, so you still got that representation online. Okay, so when it comes to optimizing your site, we're going to talk about keywords in a bit, but it's making sure that the two pieces are working together. So you've got the algorithm, the computer, you've got the human, the person that that pays the bills, the person that you know, the prospects that we're trying to reach, and we need to get that working in harmony together. And so it's a bit like planting seeds. You're going to only plant them where you know they're going to grow the best, and that's where sort of keywords come in, and that's where we can start to align our service with the searches that our prospects are putting out there. So, visibility gaps. Now, I don't know where you are with your understanding on ranking, crawling and indexing, but we'll do a little bit of a chat about that now. So the fundamentals of ranking, if you have identified keywords that are relevant and you have optimized your site and you've managed to get a keyword ranking, that means that it's in the first 100 results of the Google search. So search engine results page, we put in our search and the results come back, and then you'll notice at the bottom that there's multiple pages. It's the first 10 pages that we're talking about here. So once we've got keywords ranking, then we don't want to be on page 10, we want to be on page 1, because if we're on page 10, nobody goes to page 10. We might go to page 2, but ultimately, you know, it's about identifying the right keywords and getting into those higher positions. And there's loads of different keywords that we can do that with, and that's where we have to really personalize our research to our audience and to the service that we're offering. And then, yeah, as I say, the goal then is to improve the ranking over time. It's not necessarily going to jump that quickly, so that's when we need to move it up the listings. Now, if you're not ranking at all, then this latest update won't affect your site anyway. But ultimately, if you're not ranking, then, you know, it's important to start getting ranking and getting that visibility. So crawling is how Google's robots will go out and find your website. And crawling is important because if they can't crawl your website, then your pages can't be indexed. And if they can't be indexed, they can't be ranked. So there's a very clear connection between making sure they can be crawled, making sure they're indexed, and making sure it's the right pages that are indexed, because not all of them need to be indexed. And then making sure that you know, then you've got the right pages and the right keywords ranking. So it's a bit like, if you imagine your website's like a house and the robots are like your guests who are trying to come into your house, but they can't because the door is locked and there's certain rooms that are blocked off and they can't fully explore. Well, actually, that's okay. We don't want them to explore all the rooms in our house, but we would guide them onto the rooms that we do want them to explore. And so it's making sure that we can identify and unlock those right pages and doors. So yeah, as I say, if Google can't crawl your site, then it won't appear in search results. And one of the ways that we can help that to happen is to do a sitemap. Now, I'm not going to go too deeply into sitemaps, but every website platform would give you a way of submitting or having a sitemap in the background. And the beauty of a sitemap is that it's telling Google exactly what pages are there. Now, when it comes to pages, you want to make sure that that there's not broken links on your pages, or that there's, you know, a page that's been locked down and not visible that does need to be visible and crawled. So it's getting a little bit technical, but there's things that will stop the robots from crawling. But ultimately, it's about saying, okay, well, let's benchmark where we're at. Let's look at what's working and what's not, and that's where some of the SEO tools come in. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense with regards. Is there any questions so far? Because I realise that there's a lot of technical terms that I'm throwing at you. So if you do want to ask anything, please do so. No? Okay. Right, so how visible?
I was going to, I just couldn't unmute.
Oh, sorry.
Unmute. Sorry, Natalie, damn button wouldn't work. The one thing that comes to mind, whilst we were talking about that, I just did a quick search. And of course, the thing to bear in mind is the first ones that come up, particularly on a mobile, are the sponsored ones. So even if you're ranking #1 organically, you're still a way down the list.
Yes, but a lot of people, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, won't click on the sponsored links as a matter of fact, just won't. And yeah, Google wants you to spend money with the ads, but the way I try to explain ads is more of a campaign. Think more in terms of campaigns rather than what I'm talking about with SEO is more sort of evergreen content that is answering questions. So we can't get away from the fact that there are the sponsored ads.
No, it was just a point really, but does it show up more readily on a mobile, the sponsored ones, than on, say, a laptop? Because you've got that much bigger screen on the laptop, whereas the mobile, you took a little list. People are so impatient these days that they're likely to click on a sponsored one, even if other people don't.
I mean, yeah, obviously the visual, you know, the amount of space you've got on a mobile is a lot smaller, but the sponsored links might not answer the questions anyway, and so people will tend to go down.
Oh, agreed. The other thing is, Natalie, very many of the sponsored ones, they haven't got their areas sorted at all. I've just checked out 2 potential competitors for me, and they're not even in the region, let alone the locality. So that's wasting their money left, right, and centre.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's sort of more local search, isn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so so when it comes to your website, then we need to sort of address the fact that keywords aren't the only thing, although, you know, they are very, very important. But it's more, it's content, it's not keywords. Keywords are just a part of that. And if you're, as I say, if your website can't be discovered and your content can't be accessed, then that is going to impact on how visible you are. So a good thing to start doing, a good benchmark, is to run a bit of a score and see if you have got any keywords that are ranking. So I'll just drop the link. You may have used this tool in the past. So I'm just going to drop that link. What you can do is you can put your URL in, put your email address in, and you'll be prompted to put a competitor in. And I recommend you put a competitor in, because then you can do a bit of a comparison as to, you can spy on them a little bit, which is part of SEO tactics, I'll be honest. So you can run that and get a bit of a benchmark of how visible, you know, and whether you've got any keywords that are ranking. And then that will give you, as I say, a benchmark of something to work from. And so then it's about making those improvements, which we'll talk about. But if you haven't got any keywords ranking, then this latest update won't be too much of a problem for you anyway. But that is ultimately one of the ways to check the visibility. Okay, so let's talk about some tools then. So again, this sort of point about having a dynamic tool, it's going to need continuous improvement and monitoring, and that's where the tools come in. That's the beauty of SEO, is that we've got data, we've got a way of actually seeing how successful our efforts are, and you know, it's not this one and done piece of work. It needs that kind of understanding and monitoring and being able to take the results and use that intel back into our marketing and what we're doing with our marketing. So Google Analytics is a great tool. If you have it set up, fantastic. Just make sure that you've got the latest version, because things changed last year when Google Analytics moved away from Universal Analytics over to GA4, and GA4 has been making a lot of people, including me, scratch their heads, because it can do so much, and it's a very different model, but it is very powerful, and being able to look and measure things is great. My job is to help really identify what are the main things you need to be looking at, and that is definitely something I can do and help you with, so that you're not creating reports for report's sake. You know, you're actually getting data and using that intel. Google Search Console, that's your website from Google's perspective, whereas analytics is more from the user and the user behavior. And that's Google Search Console will help you fix issues around crawling and indexing, etc. And the problem is those tools are quite techy, and a little bit, the interfaces aren't the best, so it can feel like quite a learning curve. And when you are doing SEO, if you are wanting to make your website more of an asset, at some point you need a paid tool anyway. And so that's something that I can help with, where you know, you've got an all-in-one tool that brings those free tools in, but also does it in a much more intuitive way. So yeah, they're the two free tools that you need, and then at some point looking at something a bit more that you can do. Yes, paid tools are expensive, but the tool I have is quite affordable, so I can talk about that a bit more later. Right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is search generative experience. In a nutshell, because of AI, Google, and because of the way we are searching for things now, we've got voice search, we've got other ways of accessing content. And you know, if you think about ChatGPT, for example, it's an assistant. It's like having a conversation. It's much more of a conversation than it is when you go into Google. So these shifts mean that there's got to be a shift in other respects as well. And search generative experience is quite a sort of collective term, but ultimately Google is rolling out a new way of displaying results, and one of them is AI overviews, and those AI overviews is bringing in results from ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. But what's quite nice is it's starting to also give the source of where that has come from. So, oh, sorry. Thanks, Jacqueline. You couldn't see my presentation.
Oh, thought it was me.
No. So yeah, so SGE, think of this change as more personalized results. So a bit like local search, if you do a search where you are putting a location in or a near me identifier, what will come back is something personalized to you. So we might both be in Cheltenham, but I might search for dry cleaners in my part of Cheltenham, and Rian might get a different result in a different part of Cheltenham, because it's taking our location into account. And in a similar way, that is ultimately what the SGE sort of update is about. It's about providing more personalized results. However, it's going a step further, because it's needing to access what we're looking at, and you know, different things, and that's where GDPR in the UK is getting in the way. And so there's been a lot of updates of all this AI stuff in other parts of the world, but it hasn't fully rolled out in the UK. And I was at an event 2 weeks ago, and I met it was a Google representative was doing a talk, and somebody asked a question about, well, when's it going to be rolled out in the UK then? And this poor guy, I felt really sorry for him. The colour drained from his face, and he said, I'm really sorry, I can't talk about it. It's a lot of secrecy around it, and it's to do with the GDPR issues. And so we're not seeing those changes yet. And he had to be careful that he didn't say anything that got into the press and got him or Google into trouble. So it's just quite interesting, really. So yes, there are changes. Yes, we're already having this shift in how we're searching for things. But I would say that for the time being, it's not too critical. But ultimately, I just wanted to explain what's happening and why it's changing. So hopefully that's sort of made sense. And entities, I mean, again, this is quite a technical thing to talk about, but entities is something that you will start hearing more about with SEO. And it's a way of providing more context in the search. So where you've got things like, you know, people, place, object, or location, they would be seen as entities. And if you're taking those into account in your website and in your keywords and in your in how people are searching, then that's what that's all about. But if you think in terms of long tail keywords, and a long tail keyword is when somebody is asking a question. So where can I buy baby socks or something, or what is the best console to buy, or whatever. The longer the keyword, or the more words you put in, which could include entities, you're giving more information to Google to give you more of a specific result. And so the bottom line to all of this, all you need to know about is that you need to be creating the right content that your audience wants to hear. So answering questions that they have, talking about things that your competitors aren't talking about, and finding those topics that are going to be really relevant and relatable. And when you're creating content that is great quality content, it's you've done your research, you know your audience, you've created unique content that can't be replicated, and you've maybe even included some unique statistics that nobody else would have had, then you are going to be in the right place for Google to reward you. So that's why I sort of wanted to sort of cover those bigger issues that are going on, but also to reassure you that ultimately what we're talking about is just great quality, relatable, relevant, engaging, unique content. So yes, Nick.
Yeah, sorry. To me, it sounds a little counterintuitive, because if you're creating unique content, and isn't Google looking for the keywords that are most popular? So if you're creating content that people aren't doing, is it not gonna find it, or is it?
Oh yeah, good question.
That wrong. Yeah.
No, good question. So you still would be using the keywords to guide you, as to what people want to know about, doing your market research, etc. as well. So it's not that you're not taking guidance, it's just that, and somebody's asked a question in the chat, what's my take on AI generated content? AI generated content is going to get penalized by Google if it's completely taken from ChatGPT, for example, and put on your website, because you don't know if there's duplicate content that somebody else has created. So when you make it unique, when you put your take on it, you're the authority, you have an opinion, that's when you make it unique, and that's when you get rewarded. So it's not backed up. It's still backed up by data and by keywords. It's just that you're putting your spin on it. And I was having a great chat with Jacqueline last week, and sometimes it's almost needing to say stuff that nobody else is saying, putting your head above the parapet and actually coming out and having an opinion, which can be quite uncomfortable, but that is the kind of unique stuff that will then help. And if you're doing your research on those keywords and what other people are writing about, then you just make your content better than theirs. That's all you need to do, she says. That's all you need to do. Okay. So with AI, I am a massive fan of AI. I think it is absolutely amazing, but it's how you use it that's important. And so using it as an assistant, using it to speed up and guide you, to give you a bit of an outline for your blog articles, or if you're doing your email marketing or whatever. When it comes to doing an email, that's not going to get ranked in Google. So it doesn't matter if you're using AI, if it's learning your voice. But if you're creating a blog that's going to get ranked, then yes, you have to be careful about using completely AI generated content. But I think when it's used properly, knowing the limitations and what you have to watch out for, you'd be daft in this day and age not to be utilizing AI. Okay, so what sort of actions do you need to be taking? So the focus with a business asset like a website is to be creating high quality content, as we've talked about, and ensuring it's evergreen. And what I mean by evergreen is that when you're fumbling around for what to post on social media and you spend loads of time creating something, only then for it to go down the scroll and never be seen again, it's not the best use of your time. Whereas if you focus more on your blog content and use that as the, yes, a blog will take longer to craft a good article, but when you're doing that and you're putting your effort into that one core piece at a time, then you can slice and dice it and repurpose it back to your social media. And in an ideal world, you'd have a content strategy. You wouldn't just be doing this on the fly. But the point here is that work smarter, not harder. And your blog content is going to compound over time. It's going to, you could have a blog that keeps getting traffic, even though it was written a long time ago. And the other beauty of that is that you can then update a blog article in a year or two's time, when as things change in your industry, without having to reinvent the wheel, because the hard work's been done. The other thing that you need to consider is the Google principles of EAT, which is how Google kind of grades your website and your content. So using your experience, using storytelling, using examples that only you would know about because you've worked with your clients, that is really, really good. Google loves that. And it also shows your expertise in your niche and your understanding of your topic. And building authority with your knowledge, but also building authority with backlinks. So that's where you're writing great content and other websites want to link to that content because it's such good quality, and that is building up the authority of your domain and of your content and of you as that authority. Backlinks is a whole other topic. It's probably one of the hardest parts of SEO, but if you lead with the human and you lead with the problems that you solve, and don't go and buy backlinks for the sake of buying backlinks, and get good online PR, see if you can get an article published in, I don't know, Forbes, or, you know, there are ways that you can do it, but these bigger sites have great authority in terms of Google's domain ranking of that, or domain authority, and so that will give a big kickback to your website. Also diversifying traffic sources. So yes, Google search, I'm all about free organic search, but when you're building, and I'm going to give an example in a bit, hopefully won't run out of time. When you're building up your visibility and you're building up your brand awareness, you're going to get more direct traffic because people are going to know about you. So they're going to come to your site because they know about you. Using social media, but doing it in a smart way. And also, you know, using email marketing. So the ultimate goal is to get people taking an action on your website, getting them to come onto your website, get onto your email list, and then you would nurture them from there. And yeah, so, you know, yes, there's going to be fluctuations, and yes, SEO does change, but the principles still remain the same. That's the important thing to know. And then it comes down to monitoring what you're doing, and it's that iterative process of, okay, that blog did really well, that was somebody really engaged with that blog, I'm going to do more of that, and I'm going to do less of that other blog that didn't do so well. So it's using the intel, reading the data, and then feeding that back in. Oh, right. So let's just have a quick summary of what we've talked about, and then we'll have a few more questions if anybody's got any, and then I'll share my method. So visibility, crawling, ranking, and indexing is all about being seen, being chosen, and being available. So if you, in order to be seen, you need to be visible. In order to be chosen, you need to be ranking. In order to be available, you need to be able to crawl and index those pages. The Google core update, yes, it is another change, but it still backs up this goal of creating good quality content, answering questions, being authentic and true to your audience, and just being helpful, and then being seen as somebody that they would like to work with. And then the other thing we talked about was knowing what the tools are and the actions to take, and being able to monitor and feed that back in. So there's a lot of different strategies that I've talked about, but hopefully it helps you see that your website can be more than just a static business card, that it can be a tool that magnetically attracts the right people, and repels the wrong ones, you know, because that pre-qualifying, we don't want the time wasters. We don't want people that are just out for a quick fix. We want to build relationships. We want to find the right clients to work with. And so that's why putting the effort into your marketing, into your website, is a more sustainable strategy and business model than doing other bits and pieces and not really having a core place to sort of grow. So before I'll go and have a look at some of the questions in the chat. Is there any particular questions that anybody has at this point? Yes, Nick. If I can't see you raising your hand, it's because I can only see so many. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Yes, Nick.
Well, I probably should put the emoji hand up anyway.
It's all right.
Is there an ideal length for a blog, or is it a case of as long as you're showing, as long as you're kind of creating that interest in the blog, people keep following it? I mean, we've all seen these blogs where, they don't break up the sentences and, it's not of interest, but is it an ideal length, or is it, because I'm thinking about evergreen. I mean, some of my blogs could be like, thousands and thousands of words. So I'm trying not to, I don't ever go through, well, I'll do it once, I'll get it all out there, and then I can just chop and change it afterwards, rather than just doing like 300 or 400 words and then just, trying to make that evergreen.
Yeah, so I'm going to use my really annoying answer of it depends. It depends on the keyword. It depends on how competitive that keyword is. And so it's about learning how to research and know what you're looking for, and then know what you need to be creating. But also, we're testing stuff. If we all had it figured out and we knew what the silver bullet was, we'd be further down the line. So our business is unique. We've got to then tie that into the data and the keywords, etc. So even if I'd be happy if you got something up there that was maybe shorter and then you built on it over time, that's better than doing nothing. Because that, as I say, is the beauty of evergreen content, because you're creating, each blog essentially is an asset. If you've identified a good topic. So don't let that be the barrier to blogging. But yes, there are things that you can do to make sure that blog has got a better chance of performing well.
On that topic, Natalie, which that Nicholas just raised, he also made a good point about a long paragraph. Do you think short 2-sentence paragraphs are better for reading than a long, well-constructed literary paragraph?
It's a great question, Ian, because we haven't got long to engage people and keep their attention. So when you have walls and walls of text, no one's going to read it. Short paragraphs, headings, lists, images, anything that can break up the formatting and the experience is good. So yes, absolutely. There's tips and techniques on how to format that and make it more likely to be read, and little things like, too long, didn't read, go to the end of the blog and just want to get the main points. If you've got that in a list, that's brilliant, that's helpful, that's useful. So yeah, but usually, I don't know if anybody else does this, but if I look through a blog article because I'm looking for something and I can get a sense of that blog through the headings, I'm more likely to go back and read in more detail if I feel like I'm in the right place. And so that's what the headings can therefore do for you. Yeah. Okay, right, let's have a look at some of these points in the chat then. So Martin, I'm here because Natalie knows what she's talking about. My website is moving in the right direction, but not fully seen yet. Yes, it is a journey. Jean, need to have different keywords and know where there are lots of changes in Google. Yes, well, hopefully, Jean, I've helped answer some questions there for you. Ali, agree with Martin. Natalie knows what she's talking about. I'm here because I'm writing a series of webinars and I'm looking to pick up some tips as she's delivered a lot. Good, I hope that was helpful, Ali. Good. Rian, I own an interiors company in the region. I'm gradually working through a relaunch. Yes, we've met through networking, haven't we, Rian? Yes. And here to learn more all round. Yeah, lovely to have you. Rian's in Cheltenham, Ian. So, yeah. Jacqueline says she never clicks on the sponsored. No, how many people click on the sponsored? Oh, okay, 2 of you. Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, so as a rule, I just don't. But yeah, we're all different, I suppose. Maria, me either. I feel it won't necessarily give me the info I need. Yes. Ali, many rumours that in the future SEO will die. I've written a blog on that point, Ali. If you have a look on my blog about what's the future of SEO, then I will answer, it answers that in quite a lot of detail. But yeah, I don't believe that it's going to die, because the principles of people still want to have questions answered, and they still, the internet is where we go. You know, got a problem, got a question, what do? We Google it. So yeah, that's me very quickly answering that. End of formal SEO and more holistic, including, yes, yeah, absolutely, Jean. Yeah, cool. Okay. Okay, tools are expensive, done that one. Hi Monica, nice to have you here. It does not give credit to blogs, so people not yet. How should you make your blog future-proof in such a case? I think really, Ali, it's testing. You know, it's still very early days, but it's testing. It's putting, you can't measure something if you haven't got anything there. So you've got to put something out there to then start measuring it from. So it is going to be a bit of a journey, but that's the way to be looking at it. Okay, right. So time is really ticking on. I just very briefly want to talk about the website puzzle, and the fact that in order to have a website that is working for you, you have got quite a few things going on. You've got the technical setup, whether that's the platform it's on, whether you've got control of that website. That is a part of the mix. You've also then got the content, the keywords, actually having content up there that's of the right length, the right quality, etc. And then the other piece is the search. You need to have a website that's visible, that's crawlable, and can be indexed and ranked. So there's, for a website to be that asset and to work well, those three things need to work in harmony. Hi, Nick. So then the other thing to say is that traffic is one aspect of a website. You could be getting lots of traffic, but if it's not the right traffic, then that's not great. But traffic can come from different sources, whether that's social media, whether it's your Google business profile. Obviously, I'm about organic search, whether you're blogging on other people's websites, whether you've mentioned a freebie in a community. You know, there's loads of ways you can be driving traffic to your site, which is and online PR, paid ads, etc. So all of those are traffic feeders, but you need to take them somewhere. And this is why your website is that central place to take them. Yes, you've got social media. I do hate social media, actually. On a personal level, I can't stand it because it just takes too much time. But from a business point of view, it is good, but only when you're using it in the right way. You want to get the social channels want to keep you on there, but really you want to get people on your site so they can take that action and they're in your world and you can nurture them from there. And then the final piece then is that conversion, is that action. Well, what are they doing? Are they downloading something? Are they signing up to your email list? Are they signing up to a masterclass like this? Are they getting on a call with you? You know, there's different conversion types, and that comes down to having a strategy. So what I find a lot of is that businesses have a website and they've done a bit of this and a bit of that, a bit of the content, a bit of the search, but it's not, there's still a disconnect and something's still not quite working. And so I guess that's where I come in, and that's where I help to identify what's not quite working, what gaps and opportunities there are, and how we can take that and really make it into something that can work really well. So my 6-step method is, first of all, it's about stabilizing your setup and making sure that you've got control, you know where things are located, you know what costs you've got. And if there are any, I do a lot of rescuing of websites, so I do a lot of unpicking of tech. It's getting that setup stable. And then the next thing is strategizing. So we take a bit of a step back. We look at, because often if you've set a website up and not really done the foundational work or the strategic bit, then you need to sort of take a step back, have a bit of a wider view of it, look at what's working and what's not. And that's where I come in, because I'm really good at seeing what you've got and what opportunities are there. And then using the tools, using the research, and really turning that into something that you can then run with. At some point, we want to try and monetize what we've got. And if there's any quick wins that we can do, such as getting more local search, or maybe getting your a freebie up there so that you've got an actual action that somebody can take. I'm all for the quick wins. SEO is a longer term strategy, but at the same point, we want to try and monetize things as quickly as we can. And so that's an important part of it as well. And then once we've kind of strategized, we want to then organize. We're going to bring everything together. We're going to revamp the content, the keywords, and work out what the focus is. Because, you know, there might feel like a lot to do, but it's having that plan of action. And then there'll come a point where we need to optimize what we've created. We want our website to work like a well-oiled machine. And the nature of SEO is that we're essentially manipulating our website to work well in the search engine. And so the techniques and the things you need to do to optimize that is going to then impact on how well Google picks up your website and also grades it and then therefore ranks it, etc. And this whole system, and then finally Systemize, it's about using that intel, feeding it back in, looking at the stats, looking at the data, and just that's why it's a figure of 8, because it's continual. But what I do is I enable you to understand all the different steps so that over time you can be doing that yourself. You don't need me to be helping you with it, because you understand the whole process. And then the final piece that I also like to say is that actually this is all well and good, but it needs to be personalized to your experience, because yes, there's all this stuff out there that you need to be doing, but you just need to know what you need to be doing. And that's where, again, I come in to help personalize that experience and signpost you and guide you through that. Now, I know we're running out of time. It's now 1 o'clock. If you're okay, I'd like to just carry on for a bit longer. If you have to go, no problem at all. Obviously, the replay will go out. Just a few more bits to share. So just going back to something we talked about earlier, we have to do a lot of things in our business. We have to deliver our service first and foremost, but we also have to get the clients in. We have to look after the clients. We have to do all the financial stuff, sales, operations, everything. So we should be really giving some of that stuff to other people, and financial stuff. I don't know about you. I've got an accountant and a bookkeeper. I don't want to be involved in any of that because there's legal stuff and I just want it done. So there's certain things that we would therefore outsource, and marketing is one of them. But the only problem with marketing and outsourcing all of it is that it can be very costly. And so that's why being able to empower you to do some more of it as you build your team, or if you've got a team, even better. I want you using your team and getting them to do stuff. So it's just thinking of the marketing part of it as a department, let's call it, and how you then can make that department work for you. And equally, you know, getting the operations done, getting the strategy actually executed. You know, there's all these different things that need doing, but working to our strengths rather than doing all of it ourselves. Okay, so Simply Visible Academy. What this is, in fact, it's probably easier if I show you Simply Visible Academy. This is the landing page for it. What I have been doing is working in a group environment for nearly 2 years now, and that's worked really, really well, because it means that I can share my knowledge, but I can also help you do more of the doing or give it to your team, so it's more affordable. And the idea is that you can have a look at this landing page, but the idea is that you can work in just get started with this SEO stuff. And so that's why I've created this sort of tier 1 entry point where we'll have a weekly call, group call. We'll get all the tools set up and working for you. And then I will teach you how to use the all-in-one dashboard, so that you're starting to understand what it all means and starting to see the changes in your website. It will obviously have a community, but the thing that's different with this and how I've worked previously is that I'm doing kind of more of a pick and mix. So if you go to my tier 2, it's more intensive, it's more expensive, and it might not be where you want to be. Whereas if we do this sort of lower tier and then personalizing it to you, and I don't know, Jean says, right, Natalie, I just need to get my website rebuilt, then that I can help you with that. But you're not having to buy everything that you don't need at this stage. So it's a little bit more of making some progress, having me each week live to teach you and share stuff and ask questions of me. But then also, if you need, say, a strategy or you need help with your messaging, we can help you with that, but it would be additional and it would be a sort of shorter project, as it were. So yeah, this is my way of being able to support more businesses. And the other thing to mention is that because I'm doing it in a group, it allows me not to get burnt out, but it also allows me to keep my knowledge up of this vast topic. And that obviously then gets passed back to you. So have a look at this page. I'll send the link out. I'm doing a deal today for coming in at that entry level, where you would get the 4 calls a month and the all-in-one SEO tool and the community and resources, £160 a month. But remember that the tool is also a cost to me, so that includes the subscription of the tool. And also I'm offering I haven't had time to go through Dawn's wins, sorry. I'm also offering you can get a free Google Business Profile mini course if you want to come into the academy, and if you did choose the pay in full option, then I'd gift that to you, and that's worth £150, and that would give you something to focus on and get up and running for your local search and really optimizing and improving your Google Business Profile. I need a cup of tea now. I think that's everything I wanted to share. Thank you so much for coming along. If you have any more questions, you can always email me. But I hope that you got lots of value from that today. And if you are interested in working with me, then I would absolutely love to help you move the needle of your website and start getting your knowledge up and getting that plan of action in place. And hopefully you can see that this way of working is a bit more affordable. It's not such a big investment, and it gives you all the best features of what I've been doing in a more intensive way, but as I say, a bit more affordable. Your marketing is important, and you need having that help and that guidance is important as well. So excellent. Any final questions or anything that I can help you with? No. Good. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go and put the kettle on now.
Thank you very much, Nat.
No problem at all. All right. You take care and speak to you soon. Okay. Bye.